Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into some really crucial territory, helping you navigate those tough but necessary conversations with your kids about social media and pornography.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our source material is a really insightful interview with Dr. Mandy Sanchez. She's the director of programming at Culture Reframed.
Right.
And our mission, really,
Yeah.
is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, those science-backed strategies, and the practical advice from her expertise.
Yeah, make it easy for you to understand and, more importantly, actually use this stuff.
Exactly.
Because here's where it gets, well, really interesting. The interview covers a huge range, from foundational approaches to tackling specific nightmare scenarios like exposure or sexting,
Hmm.
and really digging into why pornography is harmful based on solid research. So we've structured this deep dive to walk you through her core philosophy, then hit those challenging teen years.
Which can be tricky.
Definitely. Address common parent fears, understand the documented harms, and then give you concrete steps you can take, like starting today.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Ultimately, this deep dive is designed to equip you, give you the confidence and the tools you need to step into these challenging but really essential conversations with your kids.
Absolutely. So, where does Dr. Sanchez suggest we even start with this? What's the absolute foundation she recommends for these discussions?
Well, she lays out a core strategy that's really powerful because it shifts the dynamic entirely. It's all about having a no shame, no blame conversation.
Okay.
And critically, doing it honestly and often. This isn't, a one-time lecture.
Honestly and often. That
Yeah.
implies starting early, I'm guessing.
Exactly. She really emphasizes starting those conversations when kids are young, scaffolding the information over time.
Scaffolding.
Meaning you build on it, like
Mhm.
correctly naming body parts when they're toddlers, then introducing concepts of consent and body boundaries a bit later on.
Ah, I see.
It builds that foundation over years, not just one big scary talk later.
And for parents who might be, dreading these conversations, does she offer practical tips about how to actually do them?
Yes, she's very practical about it. Like, let the child pick the timing when possible. Don't ambush them, right as they're running out the door.
Right. Bad timing.
And keep it short. Aim for those one-minute discussions, she suggests. Scatter them throughout the week or month, rather than one big, painful, hours-long talk.
Okay, I like that. Little bits, often. It makes it less daunting for everyone involved. How does she suggest framing these talks?
Frame it in terms of general health and safety, just like you talk about stranger danger or wearing a seatbelt.
Makes sense.
Use facts, not scare tactics. And a really important piece of this foundation is teaching kids critical thinking.
How so?
Well, the online world isn't always what it seems, right? Teach them to be skeptical, to question what they see and hear online. People and things aren't always as they appear.
That critical thinking piece feels huge, especially online these days. What's the best way to encourage that?
She highlights the power of asking questions. Not like an interrogation, but genuine curiosity.
Okay.
Ask them about what they watch, what they listen to, read, see online. And the absolute critical part, ask them how it makes them feel.
Ah, the feeling part. That opens the door to their emotional landscape, yeah. Understanding their reaction to the content.
Exactly. It's key.
Okay, so it's about building this culture of open conversation using facts, questions. But where does a parent even start if they've, never had these talks before?
Well, she points out you don't have to invent this wheel from scratch.
Yeah.
Resources like scripts are available. She mentioned the Culture Reframed website specifically.
Oh, okay.
Those can give parents a starting point, a structure for these conversations. Take some of the pressure off.
And what about staying engaged in their digital world? Because it changes so fast.
That's another really big piece of the foundation she talked about. Get on the platforms your kids are using.
Yeah.
Understand TikTok, Instagram, even the games they play.
Right. See what they're actually doing.
Yes, watch what they're doing. Taking a genuine interest creates a safe space. It shows them you're not just there to police them, but to actually connect.
Okay.
And yes, she does recommend checking in on texts, posts, comments, DMs, at least until you feel confident they've developed safe online habits.
So it's not about blind trust then?
Crucially, no. Dr. Sanchez emphasizes a guiding principle here that might challenge some parents. This is about safety over trust.
Safety over trust. Explain that a bit more.
It means actively working to keep kids safe in what can be a risky digital environment, not just assuming they'll always do the right thing simply because you trust them. It's proactive.
Right.
And there are programs like the ones Culture Reframed offers for parents of tweens and teens, designed specifically to help you build these proactive safety strategies.
All right, that really sets the stage for the overall approach. But let's be real, talking to teenagers, especially older ones like 15 to 17, that feels like a completely different ballgame. How does she suggest tackling those conversations when they might not be sharing much?
Yeah, it definitely gets harder as they get older, no doubt.
Yeah.
Dr. Sanchez gave a few smart strategies for this. One is using everyday media as a springboard.
Okay, how does that work?
So instead of asking directly, what are you seeing online?
Hmm.
You talk about something happening in the news or on social media,
Like,
like song lyrics, maybe a celebrity controversy, or even that Super Bowl halftime show she mentioned. Discuss the messaging, the portrayals you see there.
so you use the outside world to kind of talk about their potential inner world without putting them on the spot.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
opens the door without feeling like an interrogation. Another classic approach she mentioned is the what are your friends doing strategy.
Right, the friend angle.
It externalizes the topic, makes it less personal.
And building on that, I really liked her suggestion about using situational contexts.
Yes, that one's really clever. It completely removes the personal element for a bit.
Yeah.
You ask, has this ever happened to any of your friends? Or maybe, what would you do if you were in the situation?
Mm.
It lets them talk about scenarios they've likely encountered or heard about, discuss potential responses, feelings, all without having to admit they themselves saw or did something specific.
That feels much less confrontational, probably more likely to actually get them talking.
For sure.
Now, shifting gears a bit to a fear I know many parents have, suspecting their child has already been exposed to pornography or, hypersexualized media.
hmm
What's her advice for that moment you suspect it?
Yeah, this is incredibly common, unfortunately. The crucial first step, Dr. Sanchez really stresses this, is to stay calm.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Absolutely. Take a breath. She even suggests maybe walking out of the room for a moment just to get your composure back. Your first instinct might be to react immediately, maybe accuse or snatch a device.
Right.
But your reaction in that initial moment is vital for the conversation that needs to follow.
Okay, so you take that breath, you collect yourself. What's the next step then?
When you're ready, you go back and state clearly, we have to talk about this. But here's another key tip she offered. Let the child decide when and where that conversation happens.
Really? Give them that control.
Yeah, it might be in an hour, maybe tomorrow. But by giving them that little bit of agency, you actually increase the chances they'll engage rather than shut down.
Yeah.
The important thing is establishing that it will happen.
Okay. And in that conversation itself, what should parents focus on?
Focus on asking how they feel about what they saw. Their emotional response is your entry point where you can connect.
Right.
Then your job becomes education, explaining the vast difference between what they saw, the behaviors depicted in pornography, and what healthy, respectful relationships actually look like,
Based on.
based on equality, equity, real intimacy, and genuine connection, not the distorted version they might have seen.
And how does this tie back to that no shame, no blame principle you mentioned earlier?
Oh, it's absolutely central here. Dr. Sanchez is really clear. No shame, no blame, and perhaps surprisingly to some parents, no punishment in that initial reaction phase.
No punishment. That might be tough for some parents.
It might feel counterintuitive, but these moments of exposure, while frightening, are teachable moments. They're opportunities to build conversation and connection, not walls. The blame, she suggests, belongs squarely on the industries profiting from making this content so easily accessible to kids.
That's a really powerful reframing. Okay, another constant concern for parents is sexting or the sharing of nudes. How does she advise approaching that topic?
Yeah, another huge one. She says conversations around sexting should really be centered on respect, family values, and expectations.
Like, what does sharing images like that say about respect for yourself, respect for others?
Exactly. And what are our family's expectations about how we use technology and how we treat each other? Those kinds of questions.
And the permanence of it all must be part of that conversation, too.
Absolutely. Emphasize the digital footprint. Anything shared exists, potentially forever, and can be used in ways they never intended or imagined.
And there's a legal aspect, too, right?
Yes, and this is critical information many parents and even kids don't realize. Sharing nude photos, whether you're sending or receiving them, is illegal for anyone under 18. Even if they think it's consensual, there can be serious legal consequences.
Wow. Okay. It must be hard, though, when a kid might feel pressured, or maybe they have a reason they thought made sense at the time.
It is hard. Dr. Sanchez advises validating their feelings or their reasoning first, like Acknowledge why they might have considered it or done it.
Okay, validate first.
But then, gently but firmly, explore the risks and the repercussions. This is actually a perfect opportunity to establish or revisit digital boundaries and really talk about critical digital media literacy.
Understanding the impact, the potential downstream effects of online actions.
Precisely. And again, she loops back to that no shame, no blame, no punishment idea for the initial discovery moment. Redirect the blame towards the predatory industries, focus on learning and moving forward safely.
All of this really underscores the need to understand why this kind of content is so harmful for kids in the first place. Dr. Sanchez went into quite a bit of detail on the impact of pornography exposure, didn't she?
She did, and this is where the research really comes into play. What's fascinating and kind of scary is how broadly she says pornography influences things. It's not just about individual exposure.
Ooh.
She argues pornography actually shapes the culture we live in. It influences broader societal views and the media we all consume every day, sometimes in ways we don't even
So
realize.
it's more than just looking at explicit images. It's like it tells stories and teaches behaviors.
Precisely. Dr. Sanchez explained that much of it is violent and degrading, often normalizing things like power imbalances. It teaches these harmful scripts about gender and relationships,
Harmful scripts
like presenting a really distorted view of what it means to be a real man, often someone devoid of empathy or the capacity for real intimacy, and a real woman as existing primarily to be used or abused. These are the narratives young, developing brains might absorb and internalize.
and the content itself often includes deeply disturbing elements, doesn't it?
Yes, she pointed out that the scripts frequently rely on those power imbalances, use derogatory terms, racism, violent sexual behaviors, often presented as if they're normal or even desirable. And she made the point that these messages influence all of us to some degree.
Wow. And she mentioned there's extensive research supporting these claims.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Sanchez highlighted over 4 decades of research. That's a lot of data. And it consistently shows that pornography exposure undermines the whole person health of young people,
All person health, meaning.
meaning it negatively impacts their social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development during those really critical formative years.
What are some of the specific impacts that research has identified? Can you give some examples?
Sure. Studies show that early access fundamentally shapes their views on sex and relationships later on. It distorts their understanding of really important concepts like respect, consent, equality, healthy intimacy,
Okay.
and even just accurate knowledge of bodies and biological processes. It's scientifically linked to things like negative self-image, low self-esteem, eating disorders, increased rates of depression and anxiety.
Those are incredibly heavy emotional and psychological costs.
They are, and it doesn't stop there. A reduced capacity for true intimacy and connection later in life and even self-harm have been linked.
That's devastating.
And the research also extends to behavior and victimization risk. It's linked to an increased likelihood of boys engaging in risky or even violent sexual behaviors.
And for girls.
And tragically for girls, an increased likelihood of being sexually victimized themselves. The documented impacts are just broad and deeply concerning.
Okay, so given that, with unfiltered internet access, exposure is highly probable, maybe even inevitable, what practical actions can parents take specifically to address exposure when it happens, or maybe to prepare kids for it?
Yeah, Dr. Sanchez acknowledged that inevitability, it's just the reality of the world we live in. But she offered a really empowering perspective here.
Okay.
Despite feeling kind of helpless sometimes about the internet itself,
Mm.
parents are actually perfectly positioned, as she put it, to provide the counterbalance.
The counterbalance.
Well, yeah, to offer healthy alternative messages about sex, about relationships, self-respect, respect for others. You are the primary source they should be getting this from.
So how do we deploy that parental power effectively? What are the actions?
Okay, action one. Have those honest, open conversations we talked about earlier, the no shame, no blame, ones specifically about what pornography is and how it actively harms them. Their developing brain, their view of the world, their future relationships.
And for parents who feel completely lost on what exactly to say in those conversations.
That's action two. Use the free online resources and toolkits that are available. She mentioned Culture Reframed has science-based frameworks, courses, and importantly, conversation scripts.
Scripts. Okay. That could be really helpful.
Exactly. They're designed specifically to guide parents through these difficult discussions. And she made a really interesting point. Kids actually want you to have these conversations,
Really? Even if they act annoyed or roll their eyes?
even if they act like they don't. Deep down, she believes they want that guidance, that safe space.
That's genuinely reassuring. It feels so counterintuitive sometimes when they clam up.
It does, but they crave that connection and guidance. So the outcome of having these proactive guided conversations is that it prepares kids. It prepares them for what to do and, crucially, who to talk to when they inevitably encounter pornography.
Right. They know they have you, a safe adult.
Exactly. A safe adult where they won't face shame or blame or punishment,
No.
just support and information.
So, thinking beyond just direct preparation for exposure, what are some broader, actionable steps a parent can take, drawing on everything we've discussed today?
Okay, let's maybe break it down into a few key areas she highlighted. First, and maybe simplest, just start the conversation.
Just begin.
Yeah, even small steps count. Remember that goal she mentioned? 1-minute discussions are better than hour-long lectures that nobody wants. Just begin somewhere.
Okay, step one, start. And arm yourself with knowledge first.
Yes, absolutely. Second step, educate yourself. Use those free resources we talked about. Understand the documented impact this content has on kids. The more you know, the more confident you'll feel and the more effective you'll be. Get those toolkits, look at those scripts.
Makes sense. Prepare yourself. Okay, once you're feeling more prepared.
Third step, actively engage in conversation. Use media examples as entry points like we discussed. Let your kids teach you sometimes about what they're seeing online. It shows you're interested, not just judging.
Ah, that's a good tip.
Be present in their digital lives. Keep asking those gentle, curious questions. And circle back often to reinforce your family's values, your boundaries, and your expectations around media use and relationships.
Okay, engage. Start. Educate. Engage. Is there a step beyond the individual family level?
Yes, there is. Fourth, Dr. Sanchez strongly advocating for comprehensive, developmentally appropriate sex and relationship education in your local schools and districts.
Taking it to the community level.
Exactly. She cited research showing this type of education is linked to better health outcomes for young people across the board. Her belief, and it's a strong one, is that kids deserve factual, accurate, objective information to make healthy decisions and stay safe.
Especially when so much of what they might learn otherwise about sex comes unfiltered from pornography.
Precisely. They deserve better than that.
It really brings the whole discussion back to that central message, doesn't it?
It really does. The core takeaway she wants parents to understand, I think, is that pornography harms kids. Full stop. It can cause serious long-term developmental impacts and, frankly, lasting trauma. And fundamentally, our kids simply deserve better information and better protection.
This is clearly such a difficult and honestly overwhelming topic for parents to face.
It absolutely is, no question. But Dr. Sanchez offered a lot of encouragement, too. An educated parent, one who offers that open, safe space we keep talking about, is truly the best advocate a child can have in this digital landscape.
Right.
Parenting is tough, and you really don't have to navigate this alone. The resources exist, like those at Culture Reframed, to provide guidance and support through this specific, difficult topic.
And recognizing the immense value in stepping up and having these talks is key, isn't it?
It really is. You are worth the effort to learn and engage, and your kids are absolutely worth it. At the end of the day, you want them to feel comfortable coming to you for information and support about these sensitive topics.
Not relying solely on Google or their friends, or worse, this harmful content itself.
Exactly. You can control the accurate, healthy information you offer. And that's a crucial counterbalance to whatever they might stumble upon online. You can be their anchor.
So to wrap up this deep dive then, the absolute key takeaway from Dr. Mandy Sanchez's insights really seems to be the critical need for proactive, informed, no shame, no blame communication with your kids about social media and pornography. It's challenging, yes, but science-based resources are available to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over as you process all this information.
Yeah.
Given that exposure to this kind of content is, well, almost inevitable in our connected world, and the industry's influence is so pervasive, how does reframing these conversations from being primarily about trusting your kids to be fundamentally about keeping them safe, how does that shift maybe change your perspective and your approach going forward?
That's a powerful perspective shift to consider. Safety over trust. Lots to think about there. We really hope this deep dive has given you valuable knowledge and perhaps a clearer path forward for navigating these essential, though difficult, conversations.